What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. It is Friday, August 5th. Whether you are listening to the podcast in audio form or watching live on YouTube, youtube.com/pick6. We're live every day at 1 o'clock from now until the rest of eternity. And actually, if you're watching on YouTube for this particular show, let's just pull back the curtain a touch. We're going to have two shows. It'll be split. It'll be like a fake break or something like that, where John Breech and I talk about the NFC West, burning questions, and then we'll do our mailbag for Monday, which we pre-record in case you hadn't figured that out, which you should have certainly by now. Joining me to break down the NFC West and talk about burning training camp questions or burning questions for the 2022 season, John Breech. What's up, buddy?
Brinson, I'm gonna have to talk to my agent. I was told I was signing up for one show today. Now you're throwing a second one on me. My goodness, this is insane.
Well, you don't have an agent, and you're going to be doing two shows, whether you like.
None of this is true.
Yeah.
No, none of what you said is true. I have an agent, and I'm not doing two shows.
Okay.
My daughter is my agent. Have you ever dealt with a 2-year-old? They get what they want all the time.
That is true. They do get whatever they want. And for those that, if you really like listening to me talk, you can go check out the Deep Dive podcast with Drew Dinsick and Andy Molitor. I'll be joining them at 2 o'clock. I don't know if we're going live or not, or if it's just being, or if it's just being recorded. But you can go check that out. We'll be we're talking award season, maybe how to attack the award markets for the NFL season. Anyway, NFC West burning questions. We start with the Rams, and as usual, because I'm how I operate, I have not looked up to see who actually wrote the article. For the NFC West burning questions, 3 burning questions, but I think we can figure it out pretty quickly. It's Jeff Kerr is handled this, and we start with the Rams. Number 1, will they make it back to the Super Bowl? Pretty quick yes or no, Breech.
Do you want me to say yes or no? Or do you want me to elaborate?
Oh, you can elaborate.
You know what? I'm just going to say no. They are not going to make it back.
If you're being, intelligent about it, you just say no, because the odds, it's not likely that they make it back to the Super Bowl, even if they're a really good team. Like, I think the question, and I'm not trying to dog Kerr here or anything, but like the question should be phrased: can they be a Super Bowl caliber team again? You know what I mean?
Sounds like you're trying to dog Kerr.
No, I'm just saying, like, will they make it back to the Super Bowl is very, like, even like I think that they'll be good enough to be a quality of team that can like make it to the Super Bowl, but will they make it back to the Super Bowl? That's an entirely different question, I think,
Yes, I do know.
Yeah. So will they make it back to the Super Bowl? I think the answer would be no, but I think it's entirely possible that they do make that they are good enough to make it to the Super Bowl.
Has an NFC, obviously we saw the Patriots, a few years ago go to back-to-back Super Bowls, but not win back-to-back Super Bowls. When is the last time we saw an NFC team get to the Super Bowl? Oh, it was the Seahawks.
Yeah. Seahawks.
I was asking the question slowly so I could think about it and going back each year in my head. So it's been 10 years since we've seen the NFC team go back-to-back. And obviously, Seahawks won one and then lost one.
Yes. So it would be surprising if they made it back to the Super Bowl, just because it's hard to make it to back-to-back Super Bowls. But I think that they will be good enough to make it back to the Super Bowl. So I think that's sort of the way of answering that question. Number 2 for the Rams. What will happen with Odell Beckham Jr.?
I don't think he signs with the Rams. I know there's been
Sean McVay keeps saying like we can't wait to get Odell back, as if like he's already signed and he's just coming back.
Well, and Sean McVay keeps talking about it. Odell was at their Super Bowl ring ceremony in July. He was having a blast with all his buddies. And if he's playing for the Rams, he doesn't need to be in camp, because even if he signed with someone right now, it's not like he's practicing. He's rehabbing from his ACL. So the only advantage, which would be kind of advantage, is that he could study his new team's playbook. And so I just think that if you're the Rams and you're thinking about Odell Beckham, you don't even know if you really need him until you get.
Jefferson's hurt. He's going to be out for a little bit.
Well, he is, but you also have Allen Robinson in there now.
Apparently,
And,
Allen Robinson is beasting in the red zone.
well, and that's the thing is if you have Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson tearing up the first, say, 3 weeks of the season, you don't need to bring Odell in there to. And we don't know how long Van Jefferson's going to be out. It's just supposed to be a minor knee surgery, and he could be ready early in the season. I just think Odell could be better served going somewhere else. But, obviously he can help that team. We saw what he did in the Super Bowl. We saw what he did at the backside of the season. He was strong. So I would go 60-40. He doesn't sign with the Rams.
Okay. I think he does sign with the Rams, but I do agree. But I do agree that like the way that it sets up with Robinson and Van Jefferson and Cooper Kupp, where if they're playing really well and it looks like they might not need Odell Beckham, or like it looks like Odell might not get a ton of playing time, then he could end up going somewhere else. But I still think that they're the favorites to bring him back. How much? Number 3, tearing through this. How much will the defense miss Von Miller and Darius Williams? A lot. I mean, Von Miller was not, when the Rams first traded for him, it was kind of like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, Von Miller in the playoffs became Von Miller. So I think the defense will probably be fine without him, but certainly if he's making a massive impact in Buffalo, it's going to be, it's going to be felt and noticed by, the Rams. And if their pass rush isn't getting home, then I think people will wonder, should they have figured out a way to get Von Miller in particular back?
Or if he makes a massive impact in week 1 when he plays against the Rams,
True.
That would be a slap in the face. But you know what? Not that they play the same position, but the Rams brought in Bobby Wagner. They did fill some holes on that defense. And yes, losing Von Miller, obviously not ideal, but I don't think the defense will take a huge step back. I think they're slightly worse without Von Miller, but they only had him half the season, and obviously he came up big in the postseason. I think they'll be okay defensively.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that too. Like, I think that they'll figure, like, because their defense, like Raheem Morris does a great job of that defense. They have Aaron Donald, they have Jalen Ramsey. Like you said, they bring in Bobby Wagner, who could make a huge difference. They've done a great job developing mid-round draft picks who have really panned out well. And I think you look at the defense, and there's no reason to think that it won't be an elite level defense, even without Von Miller and Darius Williams back. But I mean, look, like you win this. I'll say this: 90% of the time when a team wins the Super Bowl, there's a lot of attrition with that roster, with the roster. And maybe you can make the case that it didn't happen with the Patriots. It didn't happen with the Patriots quite as much. And look, the Rams could potentially lose, Von Miller, Darius Williams, and Odell Beckham. But 2 of those guys they acquired mid-season. So it's not like they were like homegrown talents who are walking away from the Super Bowl that it all came together. Like they still have the core of their team. And I've maintained all along, like the big 4 for the Rams is Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford, and Cooper Kupp, and that's sort of who they build on both sides of the ball around. So I think the defense will miss them, but I don't think the defense will have this catastrophic, decline because of those guys missing.
Agreed.
Moving on to the Cardinals. Will Kyler Murray deliver on his big money expectations and or study 4 hours a week on his own?
I say no and no.
Big no. No and definitely no.
And it's funny. Did you see this? The comment that Cliff Kingsbury had on Saturday, I believe, basically just saying that he said sometimes Kyler makes faces when Cliff calls plays, and he said, "All right, man, you do it. You call the plays for this practice." And like put him on the spot saying, "Hey, this isn't easy. You've got to figure out a lot and you only have seconds to do it." And that kind of, that's on one hand hilarious that your head coach is doing that, but then also just kind of, I don't know. Is Cliff Kingsbury kind of putting Kyler on the spot saying, "You don't study, so I dare you to call these plays and dare you," because you have to think about how to beat these defenses. You can't just think about what's going to work for your offense. And so the fact that he did that, I don't know. I feel like Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray have an interesting relationship. And without DeAndre Hopkins, I do not have high hopes for this team in the first 6 weeks of the season.
I agree. The Hopkins thing, like you look at the splits, and Kyler Murray just hadn't been great without Hopkins. And if he comes out and plays poorly to start the season with Hopkins missing and having just signed that huge contract, there is going to be like the heat is going to get cranked up. And usually you think about like a team like Arizona, and there's just not that much attention paid to them. And and you could see a situation where people aren't quite as worried about it. But with Kyler and all the attention he's gotten this offseason, you're going to hear you're going to hear a lot of buzz if they struggle early on. And I think it wouldn't be surprising, given what we've seen from the Cardinals and how they handled this extension, like it wouldn't be surprising if like some stuff started to leak out about Kyler's work ethic and how his preparedness if the Cardinals struggle early on in 2022.
Well, and real quick, if you're a defensive coordinator, are you preparing extra hard for Kyler, like throwing him a few curveballs,
yes,
knowing that he probably doesn't study your team and that you might be able to completely confuse him?
Yeah, I mean, I think it changes. Like, I mean, I think that it. I think it absolutely changes how teams will be like, all right, look, like if we like what can mess this guy up, and you got the Chiefs, Raiders, Rams, Panthers, Eagles, Seahawks, and they got a pretty easy schedule to start there.
I mean, I wouldn't say easy.
I mean, the Chiefs are obviously tough, but like Raiders and Rams are. I mean, Cardinals.
They could be 0-3.
They could easily be 0-3. You're right. They could lose to Carolina. They could be 0. Yeah, they could be.
But no, I agree with you. If you were talking about after those first 3 games, they have a bunch of winnable ones.
Yeah.
Where even if they fall to 0-3, they could quickly jump out of the hole and be 3-3 by the time Hopkins gets back.
Yep. Speaking of which, how will the offense fare without DeAndre Hopkins to start the season? Frankly, I think we already answered it. We don't think it'll go well. We think it'll go poorly. They haven't been great without him. And Marquise Brown now a little banged up as well. I know that. And
driving double the speed limit.
Oh, that's what it was. He got arrested.
Yes.
He might get suspended for that.
So you literally, he has
30 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour over the speed.
No, double. The speed limit was 65 and he was going 126.
I mean, that's reckless endangerment.
So he literally is 2 weeks into his first training camp and he's already tweaked his hamstring and been arrested for reckless driving.
So he was charged with criminal speeding. I think that's different. Because remember in Arizona, yeah. So in Arizona,
they have their own laws in Arizona.
They do. Remember they have the super DUI? They have a super DUI. Like it's like a turbo DUI. And criminal speeding in Arizona, criminal speeding is defined as anything 20 miles per hour over the posted speed limit. It is a misdemeanor. The Cardinals, we are aware of the situation regarding Hollywood Brown and have reported it to the NFL as office is required. They called him Hollywood in the statement.
Hey, he is Hollywood.
He was going to practice when he got pulled over.
So are you? Is he running late to practice? Why are you driving almost double the speed limit? This is just insanity.
It's crazy. I mean, like there was something about a school zone too.
I mean, you definitely don't want to be going 126 in a school zone.
He was released on his own recognizance.
And so, look, yes, Kyler Murray and Hollywood Brown were college teammates, so they might have some sort of connection, some sort of chemistry, but he really hasn't been out in the field. And if he's not out there or if he's a little hobbled, then your receiving core is what? Andy Isabella and AJ Green and Rondale Moore. Those are the 3 guys you're sending out there. Not ideal. And yeah, so I do not have high hopes for this offense without DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I do not either. I don't see the skill. I thought I saw a skill zone, but I don't see it now. Anyway, very, very fast he was driving. Will the Cardinals become the 3rd team in a row to play a home Super Bowl? No.
I think the streak stops at 2, Brinson. Call me crazy.
Yeah, I think
unless they move the Super Bowl to Cincinnati, then it will be the 3rd team.
Maybe the real streak we should be thinking about is quarterbacks to win the Super Bowl in their first year with their new team.
Ooh.
Too as well. Brady and Stafford.
Russell Wilson. Continue that.
Baker Mayfield. Not Kyler Murray.
A couple options.
All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, the rest of the NFC West next.
Now that you've seen them do the universe, it's time for them to do a new series.
Davis, what are you doing?
Nothing.
This is gonna be cool. Well, we just came here to break stuff.
Fire!
Hey, what are you doing? Beavis and Butthead are back with an all-new series, now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.
All right. 49ers, burning questions. Where will Jimmy Garoppolo end up?
I'm going to say Cleveland.
Oh, I think that's a good guess.
Deshaun Watson is going to be suspended. Double-digit amount of games would be my guess. Probably the entire season. I think he's getting at least 12. And if he's out 12, you're the Browns. You have a Super Bowl window right now. You have such a talented roster. You cannot just throw away this season. And so I think they have to go out and do something, and getting Jimmy Garoppolo would do that.
I like it. I mean, the other possibility, of course, is the Seahawks. They have Geno Smith and Drew Lock. The 49ers won't trade Jimmy Garoppolo to the Seahawks, but they will definitely the Seahawks, I think, will definitely consider signing him if Jimmy Garoppolo ends up getting cut by the 49ers. And so if you're Cleveland, the problem is, like, if you're Jimmy G, let's say you get cut. Say, like, if you're Cleveland and Watson, and Cleveland will know next week, we think, if Deshaun Watson's getting suspended for the entire year. And if he is, it's so tricky, though, because he may go forward with a federal lawsuit. We talked about this on yesterday's pod. We don't know how it's going to play out, but if he goes forward with that lawsuit and tries to get an injunction, if you're Cleveland, do you check other methods? Do you go with Jacoby Brissett? Do you just roll with just hope that Deshaun Watson gets back on the field? Like, do you want to give up an asset for Jimmy Garoppolo? So I think it's gonna be tough for them to trade for him like right away. So I do think he kind of ends up getting cut. I'll say that I'm gonna say he goes to Houston.
Whoa.
The Nick Caserio connection. I like it.
But the one thing about the Browns is they can afford, if they pull off a trade, they can afford Jimmy's salary cap. They're the only team in the NFL that has enough cap space to absorb a $25 million cap hit. Literally the only team in the NFL that could trade for him without having to do anything to fit it under the cap.
There you go. Next one's easy. Will Deebo Samuel remain with the 49ers?
Are we talking about in 5 years? No, I'm just kidding.
I think Kerr wrote this before. Obviously, he wrote it before the Deebo Samuel contract got done. It's hilarious how, like, all this hand wringing about DK Metcalf and Deebo Samuel and AJ Brown. It's like, and they all got the same deal. Like, just bang out the contracts. It's not that hard. Like, nobody needs to scrub Instagram or threaten to. AJ Brown obviously got traded, but the whole thing is just bizarre. I did see somebody said Deebo Samuel has, maybe I heard this on another podcast. Maybe listen to ATN. Maybe they mentioned it there. But Deebo Samuel has clauses in his contract that if he scores X number of rushing touchdowns or has X number of rushing yards,
yes,
he gets bonuses.
He gets $650,000 if he tops his rushing total from last season. So if he gets 380 more yards per year, he can add $650,000. If he gets 3 rushing touchdowns, he gets $150,000 bonus, but he can only earn up to $650,000 per year in extra bonuses.
So I guess I could just read any article on the internet.
Every article on the internet would have told you that. So he basically has about $2 million tied into being a running back.
So they're going to run then. I mean, they're going to run him, and he's going to be fine with it.
Well, he's not going to complain. Is what?
Yeah. Like, and unless they stop him at like 2 touchdowns. I mean, yeah, he's going to get those bonuses, I would guess. How will Trey Lance look in his second year? What do you rave reviews? Like, some of these throws that are coming out of training camp are like, ooh la la.
All right. Well, when he does it in a regular season game, I will be sold. But until then, I'm not convinced he's a huge step up from Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think the 49ers are going to be bad, but I don't think they're going to be great. I don't think they'll be back in the NFC title game.
I think he's a potential like massive upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh boy. Uh-oh.
I think if he's, I think that there is some Patrick Mahomes. I think, and when I say this, I want it to be taken like with, not a grain of salt, but like don't take it to mean like I think he's going to throw 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns and win MVP. But I think you sit the whole year, you learn the offense with this creative offensive play caller, and then you come out and with athletic young quarterback, first round pick, traded up for. you know, I just think there's a chance that he comes out and just shreds this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. I'm not going to sit here and say I think Trey Lance is going to be horrible and San Francisco's going to go 4-13. I think there's a more likely chance that he's good than bad, but I'm not 100% sold on him just yet. That's all.
I don't know for a fact he's going to be good, but I have good feelings about him. I think the 49ers will be good this year.
Brinson, I trust your gut.
I wouldn't. It's riddled with. It's.
Can't even finish the sentence.
I can't. I was trying to think like what is it like?
With ayahuasca or whatever.
Ayahuasca. Yeah.
Ayahuasca.
Yeah. I don't think ayahuasca and DMT go to your gut.
Yeah,
they go somewhere. They can go to your head. It's crazy that is that even legal?
It is not.
So Aaron Rodgers he can't even be doing that. Like he shouldn't even.
No. He went to South America to do it, so it's legal there. So he isn't breaking any laws anywhere.
I mean, is the NFL not like, bro, we're gonna drug test the crap out of you like this year?
Well, he's gonna be like, yeah, that's fine. I'm not gonna do it this year. I'm gonna wait till.
I don't care what you do. I'm just trying.
The active ingredient is considered a Schedule I substance in the United States.
Oh yeah, it's not legal at all.
Oh yeah, not even close to legal.
All right, the Seahawks. What will the team do without Russell Wilson? They're going to stink and lose. That's it. I should let you answer. I thought I was real clever. Yeah, they're gonna lose football games.
I mean, is there any way you see this team being good? Like, what is the ceiling for the Seattle Seahawks?
So I try to find like the path for. That's what I like to do. I always try to pitch. It's too late to do it this year, I guess. But I always try to pitch like the idea of like doing a ceiling floor story. Where it's like,
right.
Like or like best case, worst case, but like the worst case needs to be like, it needs to be like take some dark twist, right? Because like the Seahawks ceiling is not the Super Bowl. I mean, I guess every team's technical ceiling is the Super Bowl,
right?
But like the worst case is like
the Seahawks are not going to the Super Bowl.
Right. So the path I think for the Seahawks best case is they run Kenneth Walker and Rashad Penny a ton. They take Geno Smith and make him just a game manager, and they play defense and they just muddy things up. They muddle things up. They muddy the waters and they muddle things up, and they just cause it to be every game is sloppy, every game is under, and it's like every game is close late, which offers them the opportunity to steal some games, and they win. So they go 7-10 or 8-9. And they just missed the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. But, they do have the Falcons, the Lions, the Saints, all somewhat early in the season. I think those are 3 of their first 5 games. And so there's a path that maybe after 5 weeks they have a winning record. And then when you kind of get that, we're not as bad as everyone thought. We're playing well. Maybe, like you said, can sneak in a few more wins. They play the Panthers. They play the Jets. There's just, on paper, there are several winnable games on the schedule. So I don't think 8 wins is crazy. I'll even say 9. I'll say their ceiling is getting above 500.
Yeah, I think, right, exactly. So, like, looking at the 2011 Seahawks, I mean, I think this is what Pete Carroll's trying to do. That defense was 7th in the NFL in points allowed. And I've talked about this before, but it's like they went 7-9. They finished 3rd in the division, but like they had, let's see, they had a loss to the 49ers. So they had, oh my God. All right. So they had a loss to the Falcons 30-28, right? I mean, that's, one score game they could have won. No, they won, they won 1 score games. I'm just pointing out their 1 score losses. They lost to the Browns in week 7. I don't remember this game, and I'm glad I don't. They lost to the Browns 6-3. 6-3, Breech.
That's not ideal.
3. They lost to the Washington football team 23-17, and they lost to the 49ers 19-7, and they lost to the Cardinals in overtime in week 17, 23-20. So like flip 2 of those games, and they're 9-7, and they probably
wait. Brinson, what season are you looking at?
2011.
Oh, 2011. Yeah. Okay, without Russell.
Yeah, before, the last time they didn't have Russell.
Right.
But like if they go 9-7, they don't they would still miss the playoffs because the wild cards were 10-6. But maybe they would have beaten one. But anyway, the point being is like if they go 9-7, even if they miss the playoffs, people are like, Pete Carroll's winning coach of the year.
Right.
And so people will praise it. So I think I just think this is, you look at this team and that's the formula for what they want to do. Low scoring, good defensive efforts, and just make things ugly and try and steal some wins.
Yep. That sounds about right.
All right. Number 2 should be quick. Will DK Metcalf get paid? Yes.
Yes. Brinson, you're like Ron Burgundy. Just ring anything on the teleprompter. You could just, we could have gone straight to question 3.
I just think it's funny to like, we're answering 3 questions. Like we get a freebie. It's a free pass.
Do you think he got paid enough?
Yes. Should he have stayed in Seattle? That's the question.
I mean, now he has either Drew Lock or Geno Smith throwing him passes, and like it's hard to increase your value and put up huge numbers when you have those 2 guys throwing your passes. So I mean, that's a fair question.
He should have taken the money, but it's like, should he have thought about going somewhere else, or like just being like, look, I'm not signing a contract. But I guess they're going to tag him, and I don't know. Fine. Number 3, how will the running back room shape out?
I mean, that's important because that's what Seahawks are going to do all year is just run the ball.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about Kenneth Walker. He could be good. The Seahawks love drafting running backs. We have Rashad Penny still there. They're just going to run it. They're going to run it all the time, and it's probably going to be Penny and Walker doing a brunt of that.
So 2011 was the first full year for Marshawn Lynch in Seattle. He got 285 carries for 1,204 yards, 12 touchdowns. He was a 25-year-old running back. I think that they will. Here's what I think they'll do. Man, remember this team had Sidney Rice. Remember how good Sidney Rice was? The Vikings, and then he went
probably 2 years.
Yeah, he had like one. He threw a lot of passes. He attempted a pass every year. That's so weird. God, 2009 season, he had 1,300 yards on 83 catches. Whew, what a man. Didn't he go to South Carolina? Am I crazy? Yep. Anyway, so I think the Seahawks saw how well Rashad Penny ran last year at the end of the season, and also understand that Rashad Penny has not been able to stay healthy. And I think that they will, if Kenneth Walker is capable of like, if he gets the offense and he figures everything out, I think they will lean on the rookie and then use Penny, not as a change of pace back, but as like, they'll rotate Penny in. I'm going to say 60-40 Ken Walker, Rashad Penny, just my guess, because I think that they will prefer to have Penny healthy for later in the season in case they need to lean on him. And look, if Walker doesn't, if he doesn't get the offense or he's having trouble in pass pro, et cetera, then Penny is probably going to be the guy, and it might be 70-30. I think they'll try and split it up fairly evenly, though.
Yeah, that won't be surprising at all. And again, that's Pete Carroll's MO. He is going to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball, then maybe think about passing the ball, but probably still run the ball.
Man, they haven't had somebody with over 200 carries since 2019. It's kind of surprising for a Pete Carroll team. God, they used to lean on Chris Carson. Okay,
Chris Carson's retired. Poor Chris Carson.
I feel bad for him, but I'm glad he's doing the smart and healthy thing for his body. All right, we are going to take. So if you're watching on YouTube, don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere
because we're going to fire. We're going to keep rolling with the mailbag. With the
mailbag.
Thank you. If you're listening, there's another episode coming on Monday. Thanks for listening. For Breech, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys later. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I am your host. It is Monday, August the 8th. If you are listening to the podcast, if you're watching on the YouTube machines, it is Friday, August the 5th. And it's sort of weird because we're doing these two shows at once and jamming them into one thing, and it feels like I'm in a time warp, but It's time. John Breech is joining me for a
Mailbag
Monday. That's right, a Mailbag Monday. And we will start with for a question from E. Blazel on Twitter. Will the Ravens go undefeated this preseason, and are you betting it? Yes and yes.
Yes, and yes is correct.
The John Harbaugh is like the greatest against the spread coach in preseason football history. And so as such, I will be hammering the Ravens against the spread. Although it's starting to get baked into the line a little bit more for sure.
Well, and the thing is, and I think the Ravens have won 20 preseason games in a row now. And that is why our friend E. Blazel is asking this question. And when it comes to preseason, you basically have half the coaches are not going to play any. Most coaches aren't going to play any starters except for maybe one game. But you have half the coaches who don't care if they win. You have half the coaches who are going to coach how they're going to coach. And if they win, they win. Then you have a small handful of coaches like John Harbaugh who are literally coaching to win. They don't even care. They're like, we're winning this game. I don't want to lose. I hate losing, and we're never losing. And so those are the coaches you want to bet on in preseason. So yes, I think it's smart to bet on them. They play the Titans, they play the Cardinals, and they play the Commanders in the preseason this year. I think they can win all of them. The other thing about the Ravens real quick is that, when Lamar Jackson's out, you still have Tyler Huntley. Like, Tyler Huntley is good. We saw him play when Lamar was injured last season, and that's a pretty good backup quarterback to have. So if he's playing your first half, that's Ravens, boom, score points. And, most offenses have trouble scoring. And I do think the Ravens will once again go undefeated in the preseason.
All right. I like it. I'll be betting the Ravens in the preseason for sure. I mean, Ravens against the spread is the move. Or you can get the money line even better because they just win. All they do is win. Stop. My apologies. Mailbag question from your biggest Vikings fan. This is from Tommy Slayton on Apple Podcast.
Ooh.
This pod is great, very casual and easy to listen to, and I feel like you can talk along. We are very casual. Mailbag questions. I have several. Sorry, it will take a minute. It's fine. The Vikings have a new GM. Since he's been hired, he has laid an egg in free agency, traded back and passed on Kyle Hamilton to draft a different safety still in the first round and give a division rival a wide receiver in the process. Traded back again in the second at what looked like a prime spot to get Booth, only to wait a few picks, and traded right back up to get Booth, but in the process handing a division rival a wide receiver. Take a very long time to sign rookies and hand Kirk a horrible contract. I think the culmination of all these has made the fan base at least a little anxious. How worried should we be on a scale of 1 to 10? The division rival wide receiver thing is really interesting.
Yes.
Like, the Vikings traded with the Lions to allow them to get Jameson Williams. I would not.
Yeah.
I think that the divisions, I sometimes think that the division stuff is overrated in terms of like how much it should matter for some of these teams. But I totally get why, I totally get why the Seahawks wouldn't trade. The 49ers wouldn't trade Jimmy Garoppolo to the Seahawks. You're giving a team you have to play twice and upgrade a quarterback. You don't do that. I also wouldn't trade with the Lions, Bears, or Packers if I was a Vikings GM if they're coming up to get a stud wide receiver.
Yeah, and this was a trade that I think a lot of people thought the Lions won just because of how it played out. The Lions got to move up 20 spots in the first round. And basically all they did was give up a third-round pick because they moved up 20 spots. They swapped second-round picks where the Lions moved back 12 spots, but moving back 12 spots in the second round compared to moving up 20 spots in the first round isn't even comparable. And then you have a third-round pick in there. So, yeah, that was a weird trade. Maybe not a great way to start off your tenure if you're a new general manager. And then let's not forget that he absolutely called out Kirk Cousins. I'm not sure if he was trying to light a fire under old Kirk. But, when you're out there saying, yeah, we don't have Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, so we have to play better because we don't have that world-class quarterback. And, yeah, we all know that Kirk Cousins isn't that, but you never hear a GM kind of throw his quarterback under the bus like that. And so I thought that was interesting. That being said, I feel like this team is pretty talented, and so I think they could surprise some people this year.
And it is weird too. So the Packers got Christian Watson in the second via Minnesota when they traded they gave the Packers the 34th overall pick for 53 and 59. And the Lions, it's so weird to do that, like to allow your two division rivals to draft a wide receiver in the first and second rounds. But yeah, I agree that the Vikings, I also think that like with the Vikings, you're talking about analytics, right? I mean, that's kind of the thing where you're taking these old football notions aside, tossing them aside.
Wait, what? What is that?
Analytics.
Never heard of it.
Yes. So that's how the Vikings are sort of operating, where it's like, all right, look, we don't care that it's the Viking. We don't care that it's the Packers or the Lions. We want to get the most value out of these trades and to trade back and to move all around. I think it's too early to tell if it's a problem. I mean, they still you got Lewis Seen. Like I think people really like him coming out of Georgia. You grab Booth, who has, I believe, been impressing in training camp. And if this defense is healthier and can be league average, I think the offense can be really good.
And let's not forget, Kirk Cousins gets to play with a head coach who doesn't hate him.
Yeah, that's very important.
Literally, Mike Zimmer hated Kirk Cousins.
Yes. And
that creates kind of a conflict on the team.
Absolutely.
And now you don't have that.
I couldn't agree.
Kevin O'Connell's there
with you more. Yeah, I mean, like I think Dom in the chat pointed out Kevin O'Connell. He said, "Will, do you like Kevin O'Connell at 20-1 to win Coach of the Year? 3 of the last 5 have been coaches in their first year with their team. Absolutely don't hate it, like at all. What do you think, Breech?
No, I kind of like that. I think that if the Vikings, if they win the division, then it almost feels like he's a lock because they took down the Packers' 3-year reign. And again, offensive-minded coach with a lot of weapons, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson. I think he can clean up anything Kirk Cousins is doing wrong. And I don't know, that dark horse candidate, it's not crazy, especially at 20-1 odds.
Yeah. Let me see what part of the other thing too with Coach of the Year is that it really should just be called the Overachiever of the Year award, because it's basically like it's not an insult. It's like who it's not. See, the problem is the Vikings have a win total of 9 and the over is -135. Wow. That's a lot higher than I thought. So like if the Vikings only win 9 games, and I think the Vikings needs to win 11 or 12 games for Kevin O'Connell to win Coach of the Year. And that's possible.
I mean, it is partly overachieving, but like Mike Vrabel, he lost his best player, Derrick Henry,
sure,
and then led the Titans to the #1 overall seed in a loaded AFC.
Yep.
I think that deserves Coach of the Year. Like, I think that was a good
overachieving is not an insult.
Well, right, but that kind of takes it away. That takes away from people like Andy Reid or Belichick who have high expectations every year and therefore are almost disqualified.
That's what the award is. Like it Andy Reid and Bill Belichick don't win it.
Belichick has won it 3 times.
That's insanely low for a guy who's won 6 Super Bowls. Like Coach K has only won like 2 ACC Coach of the Years. Like,
and one of those 3 had to happen when they went undefeated in 2007.
Right. Yeah. I mean, let's see. He won. What years did he win? Do you have him in front of you?
2010, 2007,
2003, 2007, and 2010. So he hadn't even been like considered in 12 years. And he's only now being considered again because Tom Brady's gone. Like he might win it this year if he win 12 games. Teams who have high expectations coming into the season don't win.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think that does make sense in some cases. Like, I think that's why Matt LaFleur hasn't gotten very much consideration, because the Packers' expectations are so high with Aaron Rodgers that it's hard to say, oh, yeah, he did an awesome job. So I think the expectations have hurt someone like him. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like early coach, a rookie coach who wins 12 to 13 games is going to get heavy consideration for that award. All right, let's take a quick break and we come back. More
Mailbag
next.
Now that you've seen them do the universe, it's time for them to do a new series.
Davis, what are you doing?
Nothing.
This is gonna be cool. Well, we just came here to break stuff.
Fire.
Hey, what are you doing?
Beavis and Butthead are back with an all-new series, now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.
All right, time for a little more
Mailbag.
This is from Californian88. From a Dutch man only getting into the depths of football for the last couple of years. Why is it the general assumption that the 49ers will trade Jimmy G when they made it well into the playoffs last year and Lance doesn't seem a guarantee yet? Thanks a million. Love the pod. It's a great question. I've been kind of beating the not like hammer it, but just like pointing out that I think that they won't trade him, that they will keep Jimmy G as a backup option. But it does seem like Kyle Shanahan is kind of getting to the point, and maybe John Lynch too, where it's like, okay, Trey Lance has done enough that we've seen, whether it's in practice, the offseason stuff, where we're feeling comfortable with him, and we feel like we've got to get the specter of Jimmy G out from the shadow of Jimmy G out from behind Trey Lance, because like I know it's sort of cliche football stuff too. Like you should be able to keep everybody, but like Jimmy G's beloved in the locker room, and if you're Trey Lance and you have a guy as capable as Jimmy G is of taking them deep in the playoffs, and if you're Trey Lance, you feel like if you slip up, if you don't play well, like there's a possibility that you could, that Jimmy G's lurking there as a replacement. And so to take Jimmy G off the table, I think is a benefit for Trey Lance's mental health.
Well, I think the person asking the question probably also wondering a little bit, why are they even turning to Trey Lance when Jimmy G just led them to the NFC title game? And, if you're somebody who just started following football or hasn't followed it, it's a confusing situation if you don't follow the league regularly. That, hey, look, this guy just led them to an NFC championship, basically to the Final Four, and now they're just going to dump him off for an unproven rookie. But at this point, it's just the 49ers have so much invested in him. They gave up a lot of draft compensation to move up in the 2021 draft to grab Trey Lance. And so you don't make a move like that unless he's your quarterback of the future, and he's their quarterback of the future, and you got to put him in there at some point. And now is that point. So, and then that leads to what Brinson said. You make Trey Lance the starter, and you can't keep Jimmy around because you can't have Trey Lance looking over his shoulder anytime he makes a mistake.
Yeah. And the other thing too, is like, you can't, you really can't go you can't have Jimmy G winning the job. And I mean, I know that sounds stupid because you want to win football games, but you gave up so much for Trey Lance that Trey Lance has to play. You give up multiple first round picks, you have to get Trey Lance out there. And the other thing too is that, again, like the Jimmy G thing and Trey Lance is basically boils down to you don't want Jimmy G lurking. You'd like to get some value for him. That seems to have gone out the window. So at this point, you really just want to try to keep, Trey Lance from having to worry about Jimmy G, and you want to give Jimmy G a chance to go out and and get a job somewhere. So yeah, I think that's the basic logic right there. At Steen Jeet ask, who would you rather have as a bodyguard? Broncos country, let's ride. Russell Wilson or Nick Cage, Aaron Rodgers? I actually believe Nick Cage. This is not his fault, but I think Nick Cage is technically NIC, not NICK.
Unless it's Saint Nick Cage, half Santa Claus, half Nick Cage.
No, because it's Nicolas Cage.
Do you ever think about that?
It's Debo's fault. He did a bad job on the rundown. It's not his fault. I don't blame you. Look at that. See, it's Nick Cage because it's Nicholas.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everyone knows it's Nick Cage. Everybody knows there's no C.
You just learned that.
I would definitely go with the Nick Cage because this is Aaron Rodgers doing an impression of Nick Cage playing Cameron Poe in Con Air. If you ever seen Con Air, that's the guy you want as your bodyguard. He's calm and peaceful until he has to save someone, and then he's going to make the smart move and not let you die if your life is in peril.
I would also much rather have to deal with Aaron Rodgers doing a horrible Nick Cage Southern accent impersonation than spend hours and hours with Russell Wilson. And I don't trust Russell Wilson to protect me.
Why not?
Because he'll just like his offensive line, he'll throw you under the bus.
Whoa.
Oh, wait. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, I would go Nick Cage for sure. Did you see what they're remaking? I don't know why this.
National Treasure?
No, they're. I think they're doing a Con Air 2.
What?
Yeah, it's like
Sure.
a hummingbird. I'm stuck in another plane with criminals again. It's like, how did you let that happen?
I know they're making a National Treasure TV show
Oh, really?
without Nicolas Cage.
Maverick, the reboot of Maverick was so popular that it's basically going to cause anything with any like remote sentimental value from the 80s or 90s to get rebooted in the next 6 to 12 months. It's going to be pretty bad.
Even Roadhouse.
Yeah, exactly. They're redoing Roadhouse. Who they get to star in Roadhouse?
I don't even remember. I just saw the headline the other day.
Roadhouse.
That is, if they're remaking Roadhouse, they're going to remake everything. Conor McGregor.
Oh, it's Jake.
Or no, he's going to be in it, but he's going to be in it.
Yeah, Conor McGregor's going to be in it. Jake Gyllenhaal is going to do the Swayze role. It's just a mistake was made. Like, no offense, Gyllenhaal's fine. You can't just don't recreate Roadhouse. You cannot recreate the charisma, the raw blue jean sexual energy of Patrick Swayze. You just can't do it, Breech. I mean, like Jake Gyllenhaal he ain't it.
You know what though? You make it. I'm okay with sequels as long as there's like a new story being told, and that's what Top Gun basically was. Maybe the Goonies. I'd like to see a Goonies sequel. I'm thinking of 80s movies that Beetlejuice. Could there be a Beetlejuice sequel, or how'd they close that movie off? I can't remember. We've got another Indiana Jones movie coming.
Don't need it. My dad was telling me.
What about the Karate Kid? Except it's about a cat. It's called the Karate Cat. I've had that idea since I was a kid.
Karate Cat?
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for. So this is like the cat learns karate.
No, it'd be like the cat would be animated like a Toy Story animation, but the rest of the movie would be live action. It'd be a comedy.
Got a lot going on up there.
Oh, you would see it, wouldn't you?
I'd watch it just to talk about it on this podcast after. All right, short mailbag for us. That's I hope everybody enjoyed their weekend.
And go out and see the Karate Cat.
Go see the Karate Cat if you get a chance. We will, of course, be back soon, tomorrow or Monday, whenever it is, with another podcast. Football is getting closer and closer. Oh, by the way, we should probably mention the Hall of Fame game happened, but whatever. There was football. It was fine. It's fine. For Breech, I'm Brinson. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We will talk to you guys